somebody to be educated. And at 16, I didn't understand it. Right? It was clear. Right? First, he didn't have money for the bank clerk. So he told me that I had 3 sisters and a younger brother to educate. He said that even if I had the money, Ramkumar, that is not the way I would want you to be educated. Right? So I had a deep grudge for a year. Right? Because these grudges last only a year is too long, right? With your father or with anybody. Till then only understand that kind of a thing. So the reason I am saying this is how the world has changed, and actually I feel good for all of you. Right? Good people should not be kept out of the education they want in this country. Right? And I feel very happy that every young person in this country who believes, and to me good is not about marks. Right? The other day when I was speaking to the National Accreditation Commission, which had called me on to speak to them, I don't know whether they liked what I said. I said that I am an example of a passionate person who wanted to be an engineer. This country denied him to be an engineer. And it got a lot of people who did not want to be an engineer and put them into engineering, and they deserted their profession and went elsewhere. And he put me into engineering, I lived my life as an engineer. Even today, it's my passion. Right? So that's the time. So it's not a grudge. And this is not a self-pity issue. What I'm trying to say to you all is to say that I'm not saying you should retire an engineer. Right? There are crores of people who would want the seat you have taken. So make it count. Right? Make it count. I have an example. I would love to sit back. If somebody had given me 30 years back again, I would take that 30 years and start all over again and sit in one of your seats and work it back and earn my engineering and be an engineer in my life. Yeah, so it is not easy. So when you got that vision, don't take it for granted. Lot of us do it. So that's where I wanted to start this, to really put this in terms of what a special privilege it is for many of us to do what we want. You ask me, do I enjoy what I do today? I do enjoy what I do. This is not a politically correct thing. I enjoy it. Right? So it is not a question of that I am doing something which I don't like. That's not the point. Right? But you have got what you liked. That's a rarity in this country for crores of people, even though they are capable. Yeah, that's one of the points which I wanted to make. I'm slightly deviating from. It's very difficult to discipline me, right? And I'm not a script speaker. I'm not a PowerPoint presenter, right? If I want to speak, I speak. If I can't speak, I would say I won't speak. So I'm a bit of a that way a very headstrong man. I just really wanted to ask this question. Whenever I speak to young people, I do not know how the world, whether you recognize how the world has changed, right? My son is 20. Right? He'll be 21 this year. So we do converse at home. Right? The reason why I do it, and I have a lot of people at your age working for us. Right? You wouldn't know that when we passed out, the God to me was not in the temple. Right? The God to me was the postman. Right? The post, once I finished it, every after 10 o'clock, it was an obsession to really be waiting there to say, today the mail will come. And that mail will carry your appointment letter. It didn't matter what the designation was. It didn't matter what the salary was. What mattered was that the postman will come today, and the postman will deliver to you today the letter of appointment for you. And especially if you come up from a family where your salary would make a difference and would reduce the burden of your father. So you think, yeah, you have struggled hard to really pay the fees for you. It's still educating your brothers and sisters. And he could do with, the family could do with a little more money. Yeah, from there, we have moved on in this country, and I feel very happy to where we come to your institute and ask you to join us. But see, I don't know whether you're comprehending the magnitude. Right? We all love. And it's good. That's the way it should have been always. Now for all the people who say India has not changed, for all the people who say that India has stagnated, and for all the defeatist people who say that we have not progressed, I want to ask them, if this is not change, what is change? That you can have an education what you want, right? And pursue your passion. And two, that you don't have to wait in the morning for the postman to arrive to give you an appointment letter. Has it changed for all the people in India? I don't think it. But has it changed for a significant number of people in India relative to what it was 20 years back? Yes, it has. And if we don't say that, we will stop the progress in this country. If we continuously look around us and pick only the negatives and paint everything around us as non-progress, we will drive this country into the miasma, which I object to it strongly. Right? Because you will not then be kinder and you will not be just to the people who will come after you, and you will not give hope to the people. That's one of the first points I wanted to leave with you. The second is, it's not that I did not think like that. I won't stand here that, see the other nonsense which goes around this. See that the degeneration of values. We would want to make all of you look like some of the worst villains in relation to us, and be the worst villains in relation to somebody lived 50 years ago. Right? If it was true, there would have been no Mahabharata, there would have been no Duryodhana. Right? So I do not believe there is any value degeneration which is taking place in the world or with youngsters. I do not believe the youngster today is any greedier than what we were. And so don't believe this nonsense. You start believing this nonsense, then you will rebel against it. To prove that, no, we are not first in values. It's not that we were very exalted in values, not that my father was more exalted than me in values, or his grandfather was. If the value degeneration is true, you are all science students, right? So you will have to put to test everything to science. Over 6,000 years of civilized world, if you pick up value degeneration in a very measurable manner, you can't, but assume for a minute for the purpose of setting up an experiment you will do it, and you have to really progress it. By now we should all be animals. Gone back to the animalhood where we started. Uncivilized animals. So sometimes what I do not want to tell the younger generation, right, which is the mistake I see when people get older, they don't understand what people, when I say older, people like me, I'm 50. We do a disservice to the younger generation by telling, I was telling AP and Session are coming, the stereotypes which is thrust onto people and put them into those prisons and make them live for the rest of the life, right, is the worst disservice you can do to humanity and the young people. Neither do I believe in this other nonsense, that my son is more, what, cleverer than me. We end up really working in two ends of nonsense. That either you are degenerate or you are smarter. So again apply the same test. 6,000 years later, so God should be walking on earth right? Right? If the people of the 6,000 years back walked there, yeah, form has changed. But human thought hasn't. Yeah, people wanted to fly 6,000 years back. Yeah, but knowledge has progressed, crystallized, and it has made things happen today. So the thought that humans should fly and can fly is 6,000 years old. The thought that you can have propulsion is 6,000 years old. The thought that there is a search for immortality is 6,000 years old. Yeah? So in my mind, don't fix yourself into any stereotypes which others will thrust on. You are neither cleverer than what people in the... you are what? We have the level of cleverness, level of ability, what partly genetics has given to you, partly you have done with it. But the beauty about all of us, even to me at 50, right? There is still so much life to live. We still have a chance to change this. Even to me, at 50 I will tell that I still, if I wanted to do something very different in my life, I can still do it and still achieve. Last one, right, before I touch on what he asked me to do, right? Because to me, I don't get too many chances to meet young people, and when I do it, I certainly believe it's my mission to really be able to engage them. I don't know whether people like what I say, whether people think, I'm overstating a point, but I do what my passion dictates me to say. Right? And I say it because I believe it. A lot of us just get confused about many things about work, right? All the nonsense we read in the newspaper around, right? What gets dished out in the television channel, right? What gets talked about by us, we end up really believing that your world will start today and end in 3 years. So it almost looks like all that is worth living for has to be lived in the next 3 years, and thereafter you can lie down and die. And I can't understand it. You're going to be alive, hopefully, for another 60 years, given the life expectancy of the world today. And if you achieve everything in the next 3 years, what will you do with the rest of the 57 years? You'll waste, right? So, even within ICICI, when I engage the people by saying, at the end of the day, right, this is not to say, I am not saying money is good, good living is good, ambition is good, aspiration is good. None of them are bad. But pace yourself. You have 40 years. How does it matter that if, in my case, my colleague achieved the position, what I have achieved it, he achieved it 4 years before what I achieved it. Will my wife say, don't come home? If she said that, it's sad. How will your husband say, don't come home? If every day your husband or your wife is going to stand in the doorstep and say, show your card, please. Has it changed? Then come and change for the good. Come and change for the bad. Otherwise, out. They don't know. That's why you call it a family. Right? Then this whole business. I was just coming today and I met this girl, Sweta, who is with Goa, ground staff. I have a habit of speaking to people when I meet them because I learn a lot by doing that rather than going and attending training programs and all. That gives something, but living gives something. I was asking this girl by saying, what have you done? She said, I've done my graduation. And I asked this girl by saying, then what did you do? Is there a special education training you need to do this ground staff duties? Yes sir, I have to do a 6 months course. I asked her, how much does it cost? So 40,000 rupees, 6 months. And can you tell me what you learned there, or was it a waste of money? No sir, I learned a lot. Then I said, how long have you been working? She said, 1 year. Then I asked her, so you started with Goa? She said, no sir. I asked her, where did you start? She said, Kingfisher. Then I asked her, so why are you with Goa? So Kingfisher trained you well? She said, yes, it trained me well, sir. And would you place a value for the training which Kingfisher gave? She said, yes, sir. Was it better than the 6 months for which you paid 40,000 or worse than the 6 months for which you paid 40,000? She said, many times better than course which I did for 40,000. So why didn't you put a number to it? She said, sir, it could be about a lakh of rupees. Very good. Then I said, then why did you leave Kingfisher and why have you joined Goa? This girl said 2 things. One, I got 12,000 rupees in Kingfisher. Here they are giving me 18,000 rupees. So what did Goa do? When he came in, did they train you? He said, no, they said they were looking for people who others have trained. So they brought it. Just wait for a minute, right? Let's play this game to the full, right? And then you will know what's happening here. So I said, how much did you get? 6,000. So Per annum, 12,000. So Goa got achieved. Goa, you are all quant guys, huh? If she had placed the value for training as 1 lakh, so Goa would have to spend that 1 lakh. So they should either give it to Kingfisher or to give it to this girl. Preferably to this girl. Not to Kingfisher, Mr. Mila can live without that 1 lakh. Right? He has seemed to have a lot more lakhs to spend, right? And this girl would have done with that 1 lakh. So they got it cheap. The moral of the story again, I'll change jobs. Here I am not here. I will never stand to tell the people and tell you a lie. The moral of the story, what I am trying to give it to you here is to say that if you do not know why you are changing, in second I asked the girl why. She said, sir, the job was very tough in Kingfisher. What do you mean by tough? A lot more routes, and because there are a lot more routes, the work is high pressure work. So what about work? No pressure night. How old are you? 22. So what is the value of time for you? She didn't answer. So I didn't press it beyond that point. I know it, I connected it. There's no point in making overstating the point. So I simply asked the question, what is the value of time at 22? Yeah? So that's the third point I wanted to tell to you. Right? There is a value of time when you are young. You won't get it back. If somebody gave me another 60 more years to live, I will take it without my body wasting. It will waste. Without my body wasting, if somebody gave me today 60 years, I will take it. They won't. Get it. Take it. And don't believe in this Western nonsense of work-life balance, all that crap. Work is part of life. And this is a Western metaphor where people say I will work for 35 hours and be slothful for the rest of the time. You don't believe it. Having said all this, somebody was asking me in the flight when I was coming, I work hard.
Party harder.
I don't party, but I do whatever I want. Because party is not my way of, I'm not saying party is bad. I read a lot, I watch movies, I play cricket with my son, right? I argue with my daughter, we go to movies. Right? All that I take my leave every year. I spend my money to really look at the, whatever, to me, what I like, I love history. Right? I want to go and look at the places, because to me, by looking at, by knowing about the people who lived before you and the going to places where people before you lived, you've expanded your life. That's more living to me. That's my definition. Everybody need not have to really look at it. To me, to go and looking at Egypt means, oh, you lived 40 years, 40 years, 4,000 years. Right? So that's mine. So, there's a lot to live, but you don't have to work less to do all this. Yeah, so I will stop it there on this piece. Now I'll connect it, right? And to say, why am I showing you how to work? When you are in 10th standard, when your friends went to movies, and when your friends cut I cut enough classes, so I'm not